The massive alien ship appeared above Earth without warning. It was the size of a small moon, its dark metal surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the orbital defense station, watching the alien vessel through the main viewing screen. She had short gray hair and calm blue eyes that had seen many battles. Today, those eyes showed no fear. "Ma'am, they're sending a message," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "Put it through," Chen said, her voice steady. The screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, pale blue skin, and a mouth that was too wide for a human face. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the computer into perfect English. "I am Ambassador Kelthera of the Galactic Hegemony. We demand to speak with your leaders immediately." Chen stepped forward. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Force. I speak for Earth and all human colonies. What do you want?" The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "You will surrender immediately. Your species has spread across 17 star systems in only 50 years. This expansion threatens the peace of the galaxy. You will submit to hegemony rule, dismantle your military forces, and accept our protection." Chen raised an eyebrow. "And if we refuse?" "No species has ever refused the hegemony's protection," Kelthera said, its voice carrying a note of surprise. "We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We know what is best." "I see," Chen said. She turned to Dr. Marcus Webb, who stood nearby. Webb was a tall, thin man with wild brown hair and eyes that always seemed to be calculating something. He gave her a small nod. Chen turned back to the alien. "Ambassador Kelthara, we appreciate your offer. However, humanity must politely decline." The alien's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Decline? You do not understand. We are offering you peace and order. Without our guidance, your species will destroy itself or threaten others." "We understand perfectly," Chen replied. "We choose to remain independent." Kelthara's skin changed from pale blue to a darker shade. "This is not a negotiation, Admiral. This is an ultimatum. You have 48 of your hours to reconsider. If you do not surrender, the hegemony fleet will enforce compliance." "How many ships are in this fleet?" Chen asked casually. "The largest armada ever assembled," Kelthera said with pride. 1,200 vessels from all member species of the hegemony. Each ship carries enough firepower to level a planet. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Impressive. Tell me, Ambassador, in your 3,000 years of rule, how many species have you had to use this armada against?" "None have been foolish enough to require it," the alien replied. "I see. So you've never actually tested your fleet in real combat?" Kelthera's expression grew angry. "Are you questioning our military might?" "Not at all," Chen said with a slight smile. "I'm just gathering information. It's what humans do before making important decisions." The alien leaned forward on the screen. "Admiral Chen, your species is young and ignorant of galactic realities. We offer you one final chance to avoid unnecessary suffering. Surrender now, and your people will be treated with mercy. And if we don't, then your species will learn why resistance to the hegemony is futile. We have weapons and technologies your primitive minds cannot comprehend. We have faced the greatest threats this galaxy has produced and emerged victorious every time." Chen exchanged another look with Dr. Webb. The scientist was trying to hide a grin. "Ambassador," Chen said, "I need to ask you something. In all your encounters with other species, have any of them ever surprised you?" Kelthara paused. "Surprised? Us? What do you mean? I mean, has any species ever done something you didn't expect? Something that made you change your plans or think differently about a situation?" The alien's 4 eyes narrowed. "The hegemony has contingencies for every possible scenario. We are never surprised." "Never?" Chen asked. Never, Kelthera confirmed, firmly. Chen nodded slowly. That's very interesting. Thank you for that information. You have 48 hours, the alien said coldly. Use them wisely. The transmission ended. As soon as the screen went dark, Dr. Webb burst into laughter. Did you hear that? They've never been surprised. They have contingencies for everything. I heard, Chen said, walking to her command chair. Lieutenant Torres, open a secure channel to all defense commanders and colonial governors. Channel. Open, ma'am. This is Admiral Chen. Implementation of Protocol 7 begins now. All units, prepare for Operation Bedtime Story. Remember, the audience needs to believe the performance. Chen out. Dr. Webb walked over to her. Sarah, are you sure about this? If we're wrong about their technology level... Marcus, how long? Have you been working on Project Damocles? 15 years, ever since we made first contact with the Centauri probe. And how many simulations have you run? Over 10,000. But simulations aren't real combat conditions. Chen stood up and looked out at the alien ship. That's true, but we're not going to use real combat conditions. What do you mean? They expect us to fight like every other species they've encountered. They expect us to panic, make desperate attacks, and eventually surrender when we realize we're outgunned. Webb frowned. But we are outgunned. 1,200 ships against our entire fleet of maybe 300. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Chen said. They've ruled for 3,000 years without a real fight. They've never faced an enemy who thought differently than they do. They've never faced humans. You're going to let them think they're winning? I'm going to let them discover what human creativity looks like when we have 15 years to prepare for exactly this scenario. Dr. Webb grinned. The demonstration? The demonstration, Chen confirmed. But first, we need to give them what they expect. A desperate, losing battle by an inferior species. She turned to the communications officer. Lieutenant Torres, send a message to the hegemony ship. Tell Ambassador Kelthera that humanity needs the full 48 hours to consider their generous offer. Yes, ma'am. As the lieutenant worked, Dr. Webb moved closer to Chen. Sarah, what if they don't understand the message we're trying to send? They will, she said confidently, because the message won't be delivered in words. It will be delivered in a language that every intelligent species understands. Which is? Chen smiled, and for the first time since the alien ship arrived, her expression showed something other than calm calculation. It showed anticipation. The language of absolute, undeniable demonstration, she said. In 48 hours, the galactic hegemony is going to learn something new. They're going to learn what happens when a species has 15 years to prepare for their arrival, and when that species thinks about problems in ways they've never encountered before. Above them, the alien ship waited in silent orbit, its crew, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Below them, humanity began to implement a plan 15 years in the making. The war had not yet begun, but the outcome was already decided. The hegemony just didn't know it yet. The 48 hours passed quickly. Ambassador Kelthera returned to the communication screen exactly on schedule, its 4 eyes gleaming with cold satisfaction. Admiral Chen, the alien said, what is humanity's decision? Chen stood before the screen in her dress uniform, her posture straight and formal. Ambassador, after careful consideration, humanity must respectfully maintain its independence. Kelthera's skin shifted to a deep purple color. Then you have chosen destruction. The galactic hegemony hereby declares war on the human species. You will be crushed, and your survivors will serve as an example to other young species who might consider defying us. We understand, Chen replied calmly. When should we expect your attack? The alien seemed taken aback by her casual tone. Our main fleet will arrive in 7 of your days. You may use this time to evacuate your civilians and prepare your surrender." "Thank you for the warning," Chen said. "We'll use the time wisely." After the transmission ended, Chen immediately activated the emergency command center deep beneath the lunar surface. The room was filled with screens showing every human colony, every defense installation, and every ship in the fleet. Dr. Webb hurried in, carrying a tablet computer. "Sarah, the hegemony fleet is even larger than they claimed. Our deep space. Sensors are picking up over 1,500 ships." 1,500? Chen whistled softly. "They really want to make an impression." General Harrison, the head of Colonial Defense, looked worried. "Admiral, with all due respect, that's 5 times our entire fleet. Even with Project Damocles, I don't see how we can win a straight fight." Chen smiled. "General, who said anything about a straight fight?" She walked to the main display and pointed to a star map. "Marcus, how are the preparations going?" Dr. Webb consulted his tablet. "All 12 installations are online and ready. The targeting systems have been tested and retested. We can activate any of them with 6 hours' notice." "Good. And the colonial evacuation plans?" "All colonies are implementing Protocol 7 as ordered," General Harrison reported. "The civilians think it's a real evacuation and they're responding perfectly, panicked but organized." Chen nodded. "What about Captain Rodriguez and her squadron?" "Elena's team is in position at the Centauri system," Harrison said. "They're ready to play their part." Dr. Webb frowned. "Sarah, I still don't like sending Rodriguez into what looks like a suicide mission, even if it's fake." Elena volunteered, Chen reminded him. "She understands the importance of making this look real." 3 star systems away, Captain Elena Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of her fighter ship, watching the approaching hegemony fleet through her sensors. She was a small woman with black hair tied back in a tight bun and dark eyes that missed nothing. Around her, 49 other human pilots waited in their ships. "Centauri Squadron, this is Captain Rodriguez," she said into her radio. "Remember, we need to make this look desperate but brave. The aliens have to believe we're making a last stand." "Copy that, Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Park. "But are you sure about the timing? If we're off by even a few seconds—" "We won't be off," Rodriguez said firmly. "Dr. Webb's calculations are perfect. We trust the math and we trust the plan." The hegemony fleet approached like a dark cloud of metal and death. Admiral Vex Tar, the fleet commander, stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human ships through his viewing screen. He was a large reptilian creature with scales that changed color based on his mood. Right now, they were a confident gold. 50 small ships against 1,500, he said to his bridge crew. "These humans are either very brave or very stupid." "Perhaps both, Admiral," suggested his tactical officer. "Signal the human commander," Vextar ordered. "I want to speak with them before we destroy them." Captain Rodriguez's face appeared on the alien ship's screen. Vexitar was surprised by how young she looked. "Human," he said. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Hegemony Fleet. You are vastly outnumbered. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Rodriguez stared back at him with defiant eyes. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Human Colonial Defense Force. We don't surrender." Vextar's scales shifted to an amused orange. "You have 50 ships. I have 1,500. Your weapons are primitive compared to ours. What do you hope to accomplish?" "We're buying time for the civilian evacuation," Rodriguez said. "Every minute you waste talking to us is another minute for innocent people to escape." "How noble," Vextar said mockingly, "and how pointless. Our other fleets are already moving to intercept your refugee ships." Rodriguez's jaw tightened. "Then we'll make you pay for every one of them." The transmission ended, and Vextar turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy them all. Make it quick but visible. I want the other human colonies to see what happens to those who resist." The battle began with a massive barrage from the Hegemony fleet. Rodriguez and her squadron fought with desperate courage, their smaller ships darting between the massive alien vessels like angry insects. they managed to destroy. 3 hegemony ships before their own formation started to collapse. "This is Rodriguez to all ships," the captain broadcast. "We've done our job. It's time for the final act." One by one, the human ships were destroyed in brilliant explosions. Captain Rodriguez's fighter was the last to go, detonating in a flash of light that briefly outshone the nearby star. Admiral Vextar watched the destruction with satisfaction. "Record this battle and transmit it to all human colonies. Let them see the fate of those who defy the hegemony." Back on Earth, Admiral Chen watched the same recording with Dr. Webb and General Harrison. The mood in the command center was somber, even though everyone knew the truth. "Phase 1 complete," Dr. Webb reported quietly. "All 50 pilots are safely aboard the hidden transport ship. The explosions were perfectly timed." "Good," Chen said. "What's the status of the other colonies?" "All civilian evacuations are proceeding on schedule," Harrison reported. "The aliens are seeing exactly what we want them to see. Panicked refugees fleeing in poorly armed transport ships." Chen nodded. "And the real preparations?" "All installations remain undetected," Dr. Webb said. "The aliens have no idea what we've been building for the past 15 years. On the main screen, they watched as hegemony fleets moved toward other human colonies. The aliens were confident now, sure that humanity was broken and running." "Admiral," Dr. Webb said quietly, "are you certain about the demonstration? Once we do this, there's no going back." Chen looked at the tactical display showing the positions of all hegemony fleets. "Marcus, how many species has the hegemony conquered in the past 1,000 years?" According to their own records, which they're quite proud of, 47 different civilizations. And how many of those civilizations had a choice in the matter? None. They all surrendered when they saw the size of the hegemony fleet. Chen turned to face her team. "Then it's time to show the galaxy that there's another option. Sometimes when someone threatens everything you care about, you don't surrender. You don't run. You demonstrate why threatening you was a mistake in the first place." The command center fell silent, except for the quiet hum of computers and the distant sound of hegemony ships moving closer to Earth. "Begin Phase 2, Chen ordered. "Let them get close enough to see Earth. I want them to think they've won before we show them what winning actually looks like." Over the next 3 weeks, the Galactic hegemony fleet swept through human space like an unstoppable force. One by one, human colonies fell or were abandoned. The aliens watched with growing confidence as desperate human ships fled before them, carrying refugees toward what appeared to be a few last strongholds. Admiral Vextar stood on his command bridge, watching another human colony ship disappear into hyperspace. His scales were a satisfied gold color as he reviewed the tactical reports. "Commander Thek," he called to his intelligence officer, "what is the current status of human resistance?" The smaller alien, with gray skin and large black eyes, consulted his data pad. "Admiral, we have conquered 14 of their 17 colony systems. The remaining 3 appear to be heavily fortified, but our scouts report massive refugee movements toward them. The humans are gathering their remaining population for a final stand." "Excellent," Vextar said. "And their military strength?" "Greatly reduced, sir. They lost their best squadron at Centauri, and most of their remaining ships are being used to escort refugee transports. Our estimates suggest they have fewer than 100 combat-ready vessels left." Vextar's scales shifted to an even brighter gold. 100 ships against 1,500. This war will be over within days. What Admiral Vextar didn't know was that in a hidden facility on Earth's moon, Dr. Webb was having a very different conversation with Admiral Chen. "Sarah, the deception is working perfectly," Webb reported, his eyes bright with excitement. "The hegemony scouts are seeing exactly what we want them to see. Panicked evacuations, overwhelmed defense forces, and desperate refugees." Chen studied the tactical display. "What about the real evacuations?" "All civilian populations have been safely relocated to the prepared shelters in the deep systems. The ships the aliens are seeing are actually automated transports carrying supplies and equipment." And our destroyed colonies? All infrastructure was successfully relocated before the hegemony arrived. What they're capturing are empty buildings and abandoned facilities. We haven't actually lost anything important. General Harrison joined them at the command center. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez reports that her dead squadron is in position and ready for Phase 3. Chen smiled. How is Elena enjoying being officially dead? She says it's the most fun she's had in years, Harrison replied. Her pilots are getting restless, though. They want to move to the final phase. Soon, Chen promised. But first, we need the hegemony to commit fully to their final assault. They need to believe they've already won. In the hegemony fleet, Admiral Vexitar was receiving reports from his field commanders. Each report confirmed human weakness and desperation. Admiral, reported Captain Zulkar from the forward scouts, we've intercepted human communications. They're talking about something called final fallback positions and last resort protocols. Their leadership appears to be planning some kind of desperate final attack. Vextar's scales shifted to an amused orange. Desperate final attacks are what inferior species always attempt when they realize defeat is inevitable. What kind of attack? Unknown, sir. Their communications are heavily encrypted, but our analysis suggests they're planning to concentrate their remaining forces for a suicide assault on our main fleet. How predictable, Vextar said dismissively. Increase our advance speed. I want to reach Earth before they can organize whatever pathetic last stand they're planning. On Earth, Chen was monitoring the same communications that the hegemony had intercepted. The difference was that she knew they were fake transmissions, designed to make the aliens overconfident. Phase 2 is complete, she announced to her command staff. The hegemony fleet is moving at maximum speed toward Earth. They expect to find a broken enemy making a desperate final stand. Dr. Webb looked up from his calculations. Sarah, are you certain about the target? We could choose any of 12. Different systems. I'm certain. The target has to be perfect for the demonstration to work. It has to be dramatic enough to get their attention, but empty enough that we don't actually hurt anyone. The KX-47 system meets all our requirements, Webb agreed. No planets, no life, no resources that anyone would miss. Just a single star and some asteroids. How long until the hegemony fleet reaches Earth? At their current speed, 18 hours. Chen nodded. Begin final preparations for Project Damocles. And send a message to Captain Rodriguez. It's time for her squadron to come back from the dead. Hundreds of light years away, Captain Rodriguez received the coded message in her hidden base inside a hollowed-out asteroid. She and her 50 pilots had been living there for 3 weeks, officially dead but very much alive. Listen up, people, she announced to her squadron. We just got the go signal. Tomorrow, we get to surprise some aliens who think they killed us. Lieutenant Park grinned. I've been looking forward to seeing their faces when we show up. Remember, Rodriguez said seriously, timing is everything. We have to appear at exactly the right moment or the whole demonstration fails. Captain, asked Ensign Martinez, what if the aliens don't understand what they're seeing? What if they think it's some kind of natural disaster? Rodriguez smiled. Trust me, after 15 years of Dr. Webb's calculations and Admiral Chen's planning, they'll understand. The message we're about to send will be impossible to misinterpret. Back in the hegemony fleet, Admiral Vextar was preparing for what he expected to be the final battle of the war. His ships were arranged in perfect attack formation, approaching Earth at maximum speed. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Put it through, Vextar ordered. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired and defeated, exactly as Vextar expected a broken enemy commander to look. Admiral Vextar, Chen said, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Force. I want to discuss terms for Earth's surrender. Vextar's scales brightened to a triumphant gold. Admiral Chen? You are wise to recognize the inevitable. What terms do you propose? We request safe passage for our remaining civilian population and protection for our cultural sites. In return, we will surrender all military assets and submit to hegemony authority. Acceptable, Vextar said magnanimously. However, your military leaders must be tried for the crime of resisting hegemony authority. This includes yourself. Chen nodded sadly. I understand. When do you want the formal surrender? We will reach Earth in 17 hours. You will surrender then. Very well, Chen said. But Admiral, I have one request. What is it? Before we surrender, we would like to demonstrate something to you. Consider it a final gesture from one military commander to another. Vextar was intrigued. What kind of demonstration? You'll see, Chen said simply. It won't take long. The transmission ended, leaving Vextar puzzled but confident. Whatever the humans had planned, it couldn't possibly affect the outcome of the war. He had no idea that he was about to witness something that would change his understanding of warfare forever. Admiral Vextar's fleet reached Earth exactly on schedule. 1,500 massive warships arranged themselves in perfect battle formation around the small blue planet. The Admiral stood on his command bridge, expecting to receive humanity's formal surrender. Instead, Admiral Chen's face appeared on his screen again. This time, she looked completely different. Gone was the tired, defeated expression. Her eyes were calm and confident, and she wore a slight smile that made Vextar's scales shift to an uneasy yellow. Admiral Vextar, Chen said, thank you for coming. I hope you and your fleet are comfortable in your current positions. Admiral Chen, Vextar replied, you requested this communication to arrange your surrender. Do so now, or we will take Earth by force. Chen's smile grew wider. Actually, Admiral, I contacted you to fulfill a promise I made yesterday. You wanted to see what human military capability looks like. We're going to provide a demonstration. Vexatar's scales darkened to a suspicious purple. What kind of demonstration? Das educational kind, Chen said. She turned to someone off-screen. Dr. Webb, please begin the presentation. On Vextar's tactical display, a new image appeared. It showed the KX-47 star system, about 6 light-years away. The system contained nothing but a single yellow star and some floating asteroids. Admiral, Chen continued, are your sensors focused on the KX-47 system? Yes, Vextar said slowly. Why? Because you're about to learn something new about human engineering. Dr. Webb, if you would? The display showed the KX-47 star suddenly beginning to collapse. In the span of 30 seconds, the entire star folded in on itself and then exploded in a brilliant nova that lit up space for dozens of light years in every direction. Vextar stared at the display in shock. His scales shifted rapidly through different colors as his mind tried to process what he had just seen. That's impossible, he whispered. Stars don't just collapse on command. They do if you know how to ask nicely, Chen said pleasantly. The technical term is controlled stellar collapse. We've been working on the technology for 15 years. Dr. Webb's voice came through the communication system. Admiral Vextar, what you just witnessed was the detonation of a device we call a stellar trigger. It forces a star to undergo rapid nuclear collapse, creating a controlled supernova effect. Vextar found his voice. But that system was empty. Why waste such a weapon on an empty system? Because it wasn't a waste, Chen explained. You see, your fleet passed through that system 2 days ago. At the time, you had a trailing force of 300 ships following about a day behind your main fleet. The blood drained from Vextar's face as he understood. The gravitational waves? Exactly, Chen said. When a star collapses that quickly, it creates massive gravitational disturbances that travel at light speed. Your trailing force was caught in those waves approximately 6 hours ago. Vexitar's communications officer frantically tried to contact the trailing fleet. After several minutes, he turned to his admiral with terror in his eyes. "Sir, we're getting no response from Admiral Kextar's fleet. Long-range sensors show debris." Chen nodded sympathetically. 300 ships, destroyed by the gravitational effects of a star that exploded 6 light-years away. "I'm sorry for your loss, Admiral." Vexitar's mind reeled. You killed 300 ships without firing a single shot." "Actually," came a new voice, "we did fire shots, just not at your ships." A familiar face appeared on the screen next. To Chen, Captain Rodriguez smiled and waved at the shocked hegemony admiral. "Impossible," Vexitar gasped. "You're dead. I watched your ship explode." "You watched a very convincing special effect," Rodriguez said cheerfully. "My squadron has been alive and well this whole time. We've been testing the targeting systems for Dr. Webb's stellar triggers." Chen took control of the conversation again. "You see, Admiral, the battle at Centauri was never about defending the colony. It was about testing our weapons' precision. Captain Rodriguez and her pilots spent 3 weeks gathering exact measurements of gravitational effects, timing sequences, and blast patterns. Every death was carefully calculated to provide us with the data we needed." Dr. Webb's excited voice joined the conversation. "The hardest part was making sure the gravitational waves would reach your trailing fleet at exactly the right time and angle. We had to account for stellar drift, fleet movement patterns, and relativistic effects. But the math worked perfectly." Vexitar struggled to maintain his composure. "Even if what you say is true, you have only one weapon. We still outnumber you." Chen's smile became almost predatory. "Admiral, may I ask you a question? In your 3,000 years of galactic dominance, how many species have ever surprised you?" "None," Vexitar said automatically, then realized what he had just admitted. "Exactly. You've never encountered a species that thinks about problems the way humans do. You assume that if we can build one stellar trigger, we've only built one stellar trigger." The implications hit Vexitar like a physical blow. "How many? Dr. Webb, would you care to answer the Admiral's question?" Webb's voice was cheerful and proud. 12 installations, Admiral Vexitar. Each one positioned near a star system along the major hyperspace routes your fleets use. Each one undetectable until we choose to activate it. Each one capable of creating gravitational effects that can reach across multiple star systems. Chen leaned forward on the screen. "Admiral, your species has ruled this galaxy through superior numbers and overwhelming force. You've never faced an enemy that could make your numbers irrelevant. You've never faced an enemy that could destroy your entire fleet without ever coming within weapons range." Vexitar's scales had turned completely white, the color of absolute terror in his species. "What do you want?" "Nothing," Chen said simply. "We don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to be left alone." But the demonstration was exactly that. A demonstration. We could have destroyed your entire fleet the moment you entered this system. Instead, we chose to show you what we're capable of and give you the chance to leave peacefully. Rodriguez spoke up again. "Admiral, you said earlier that resistance to the hegemony is futile. We wanted to show you that the opposite is also true. Threatening humanity is futile." Dr. Webb added, "The stellar triggers will remain in place but inactive, as long as no one threatens human colonies or ships. They're not weapons of conquest, Admiral. They're weapons of deterrence." Chen's expression grew serious. "Admiral Vexitar, you have a choice to make. You can return to your hegemony and report that humanity is too dangerous to attack. Or you can try to continue this war and learn firsthand what happens when we stop demonstrating and start defending." Vexitar looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. 300 ships had been destroyed by a weapon they couldn't fight, couldn't detect, and couldn't defend against. The humans had turned warfare itself into something completely different. "Admiral Chen," he said quietly, "if we withdraw, will you use these weapons against other hegemony worlds?" "No," Chen said firmly. "We're not conquerors, Admiral. We're defenders. As long as no one threatens us, our weapons will remain dormant." Vextar made the hardest decision of his military career. "Fleet Command, this is Admiral Vextar. All ships prepare for immediate withdrawal from the Sol system." On the screen, Admiral Chen nodded respectfully. "A wise choice, Admiral. Safe travels." As the massive hegemony fleet began its retreat, Chen turned to Dr. Webb and Captain Rodriguez. "Think, they understood the message?" she asked. Rodriguez grinned. "Admiral, I think the entire galaxy is about to understand the message." 3 weeks after the demonstration, Ambassador Kelthara's ship appeared once again above Earth. This time, there was no massive fleet behind it. The ship requested permission to approach, and Admiral Chen granted it. The alien ambassador looked different during this second meeting. Its 4 eyes seemed dimmer, and its pale blue skin had a grayish tint. When it spoke, its voice carried none of the arrogant confidence from their first encounter. "Admiral Chen," Kelthara said, "I come, not with ultimatums, but with a request for negotiation." Chen sat in her command chair, looking calm and professional. "We're willing to listen, Ambassador. What does the hegemony propose?" "First, I must ask about our lost fleet. Admiral Vextar reported that 300 ships were destroyed by stellar engineering. Is this accurate?" "It is," Chen confirmed. "Though I should point out that the destruction was caused by natural gravitational forces. We simply triggered those forces." Kelthara's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Admiral, in 3,000 years of galactic civilization, no species has ever weaponized stellar mechanics. How long have humans possessed this technology?" Dr. Webb stepped forward. "Ambassador, we've been developing stellar engineering since we achieved faster-than-light travel. About 50 years of research, with the last 15 years focused specifically on defensive applications." "Defensive applications?" Chen answered this time. "Ambassador, when we first detected your civilization, we realized that eventually we would encounter a more advanced species. We decided to prepare for that possibility." "You prepared for war?" "We prepared to ensure that war would never be necessary," Chen corrected. "The stellar triggers aren't weapons of conquest. They're weapons of deterrence. Their purpose is to make attacking humanity too costly to consider." Kelthara was quiet for a long moment. "Admiral Chen, I must inform you that news of your demonstration has spread throughout the galaxy. Several hegemony member species have requested direct negotiations with humanity." "Interesting," Chen said. "What do they want to negotiate? Trade agreements, technological exchanges, mutual defense pacts? They want to be on friendly terms with the species that can destroy stars." Dr. Webb looked concerned. "Admiral, we should be careful about sharing stellar engineering technology in the wrong hands." "Don't worry, Marcus," Chen said. "We're not sharing the technology, but we can certainly discuss other forms of cooperation." Kelthara leaned forward. "Admiral, there is something else. 3 hegemony member species have formally withdrawn from our alliance. They say they no longer trust the hegemony's ability to protect them from threats like humanity." Chen raised an eyebrow. "They're afraid we'll attack them?" "No," Kelthara said quietly. "They're afraid the hegemony will provoke you into attacking them." General Harrison, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. "Ambassador, what is the current status of the Hegemony Council?" "Divided," Kelthara admitted. "Some members want to unite against humanity, believing that your technology represents an existential threat to galactic stability. Others argue that accommodation is the only logical response." Chen stood up. "And what do you believe, Ambassador?" Kelthara's skin color shifted to a pale, resigned blue. I believe that the galaxy has changed forever. For 3,000 years, power in this galaxy was measured by the size of your fleet and the strength of your weapons. You have made that measurement obsolete. Dr. Webb looked puzzled. How so? Because, Dr. Webb, your species has demonstrated something that no previous civilization has ever achieved. You have developed the ability to destroy from a distance. That makes retaliation impossible. Any species with stellar engineering capability can end a war before the enemy even knows it has begun. Chen nodded thoughtfully. So other species will start developing their own stellar weapons. Some will try, Kelthera agreed. But stellar engineering requires a specific type of scientific thinking. Our analysis suggests that most species lack the necessary creativity. What kind of creativity? Chen asked. Kelthera's 4 eyes focused on her intently. The creativity to think 15 years ahead, to prepare for a threat that might never come, to spend decades developing a weapon you hope never to use. Most species are reactive, Admiral Chen. Humans appear to be preemptive. Captain Rodriguez, who had been quietly monitoring the conversation, spoke up. Ambassador, what about Admiral Vextar? How is he explaining the loss of 300 ships? Admiral Vextar has submitted a full report to the Hegemony High Command. His recommendation is immediate withdrawal from all human space and the establishment of a permanent non-aggression treaty. And the High Command's response? Kelthera's skin darkened. They ordered him to prepare for a second assault using different tactics? The room fell silent. Chen's expression hardened. I see. And what tactics do they have in mind? Long-range bombardment using unmanned ships. They believe that if they never come close to your star systems, they will be safe from gravitational weapons. Dr. Webb shook his head. They still don't understand. Distance doesn't matter when you can affect stellar mechanics. We can reach their ships anywhere in the galaxy. Kelthera nodded sadly. Admiral Vextar tried to explain this to them. They refused to listen. They believe that human technology must have limitations that can be exploited. Chen walked to the viewing screen and looked out at the stars. Ambassador, how long before this second assault begins? The fleet is being assembled. Now. Perhaps 6 months? I see. Chen turned back to the alien. Ambassador Kelthera, I want you to deliver a message to your High Command. What message? Chen's voice became cold and formal. Tell them that humanity's patience is not unlimited. The demonstration at KX-47 was a warning. The next demonstration will not be conducted in an empty star system. Kelthera's skin went completely white. Admiral, surely you wouldn't— Ambassador, Chen interrupted. Your people have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years through the threat of overwhelming force. You've made it clear that you don't understand any other language. So let me be absolutely clear in terms you will understand. She stepped closer to the screen. If a second hegemony fleet approaches human space with hostile intent, we will select a star system that contains a hegemony military base. When that star collapses, the gravitational waves will destroy not just the approaching fleet, but every ship, station, and installation within 12 light years of the detonation point. The ambassador was trembling. That could kill millions of beings. Yes, Chen said simply. And it would be entirely preventable. All your High Command has to do is accept that humanity will not submit to their authority. Dr. Webb looked uncomfortable. Sarah, are we really prepared to— Marcus, Chen said quietly, are we prepared to let them genocide humanity because they can't accept that someone said no to them? Webb was quiet for a moment, then nodded. The installations remain ready. Chen turned back to Kelthera. Ambassador, I want you to understand something important. Humans don't want to be the galaxy's dominant species. We don't want to rule anyone or conquer anything. But we also will not be ruled or conquered by anyone else. What do you want? Simple. coexistence, trade when beneficial, cooperation when needed, and peaceful independence when desired. The same things most species want. Kelthara's skin began to return to its normal pale blue. And if the hegemony agrees to these terms, then the stellar triggers remain dormant, humanity remains in its current territory, and everyone gets to live in peace. And if they don't agree, Chen's smile was cold. Then your species will learn what Admiral Vextar already understands. When humans say no, we mean it. The ambassador was quiet for several minutes, clearly thinking. Finally, it spoke again. Admiral, Chen, I will deliver your message exactly as you have stated it. But I must ask, are humans truly prepared for the consequences of this path? If you destroy a hegemony system, you will have made an enemy of most of the galaxy. Chen walked back to her command chair and sat down. Ambassador, let me ask you a question. In your 3,000 years of rule, how many species willingly joined the hegemony? Willingly? None. But they all eventually accepted our authority. Because they had no choice. Because you never gave them a choice. Chen leaned forward. We're not just offering the hegemony a choice, Ambassador. We're offering the entire galaxy a choice. They can continue to live under a system where the strong dominate the weak, or they can try something new. What kind of something new? A galaxy where species that can defend themselves are left alone to develop as they choose, where strength is used for protection, not conquest. Dr. Webb stepped forward again. Ambassador, humanity has no interest in replacing the hegemony as the galaxy's rulers. But we're willing to demonstrate that ruling the galaxy is no longer possible for anyone. Kelthara stared at them both for a long moment. You're trying to change the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. We're trying to evolve it, Chen corrected. For 3,000 years, your species has maintained peace through fear. We're offering an alternative. Peace through mutual respect. And if other species refuse to respect humanity, Chen's expression grew serious. Then they'll discover that some species are too dangerous to threaten, regardless of how advanced you think you are. The meeting ended shortly after, with Ambassador Kelthara departing to